Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. And man, I am so pumped that we have a special best of all about the good old days of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling today. Of course, Tony Schiavone is on location. It's a big week for AEW. He's got a Dynamite, he's got a Collision, he's got a Rampage, and more importantly, he's got a doggone pay-per-view this Sunday night. And what a pay-per-view it's going to be. Forbidden Door. Make plans to join them there live in the Northeast at AEWTIX.com, or do what I'm doing and go ahead and get that thing pre-ordered over at Triller TV or anywhere you enjoy AEW pay-per-views. It's going to be a big card, and we're going to talk about it next week. But today, we're talking about a very special edition. 1986 was a big year for Jim Crockett Promotions, and a few years ago, Tony and I went episodically through the whole doggone show. Now, what we would do on our Patreon is we would not just do the 605 show on TBS. We would watch the syndicated show. And on this particular episode, we would see the NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, Magnum TA, go one-on-one with Ivan Koloff of the Russians. Plus, we would see the Road Warriors, Baron von Raschke, the Barbarian, and more, all in action. It went down on February 8th, 1986. And then the following week, on February 15th, we would see the Italian Stallion step in the ropes to take on Arn Anderson for the NWA television title. Plus, Manny Fernandez was in action. Outlaw Ron Bass was there taking on George South, and so much more. I loved Jim Crockett Promotions, and I always knew that I liked, the promos, and I enjoyed those compilation tapes that we all got in the mail way back when. But I got to be honest, I didn't really understand all of the storylines until we went episodically through 1986. Tony and I did a few years ago. And it was such an important year and such a special time, and I was such a fan that we reached out to David Crockett and we said, David, do you still have your brother's red books? And he did. The booking sheets that made Crockett what it was. It was the excellent penmanship of J.J. Dillon from the genius mind of Dusty Rhodes. And it was just the business of the business. Here's the dates. Here's the towns. Here's the gate revenue. It's really impressive. And we decided to do a series and go page by page through those books. We finished 1985, and right now, we're breaking down 1986 at adfreeshows.com. So if you're like me and you can't get enough of the good old days of Jim Crockett Promotions, I want to really encourage you to go check out David Crockett's fabulous series he does with me every month called The Book. I think you're going to love it. I know I do. And something else I love is how smooth I can get my balls thanks to our friends at Manscaped. That's right. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. And let's make sure that when we're playing out in the sun, that we're groomed from pubes to bum. We're talking about Manscaped, where they've got the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. It's the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to this exclusive offer. You can get 20% off plus free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use our code WHW. Summertime and the trimming's easy. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it is when you get for that close shave below the belt. And that's why we trust Manscaped with all of our sensitive areas. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 5.0. It's the 5th generation trimmer that just keeps getting better every single time. Now it's got 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. We've also got dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3 length-setting combs, and hey, it's waterproof too. Now you can also hook up all the liquid formulations from Manscaped, like the Crop Soother. That's an aftershave lotion, but my favorite is the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant. Manscaped even hooks you up with 2 free gifts in this Performance Package 5.0, the Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. They've even got all your other wet products. They got a new buff bundle that's all you need, man. The bundle includes a silicone, listen to me. And it's got body wash too. So listen, it's not just for shaving your sack, man. They got you covered, your whole grooming routine. And why not get 20% off plus free shipping at the code WHW at manscaped.com. Just go to manscaped.com, use our code WHW, and you'll get 20% off plus free shipping with the code WHW at manscaped.com. It's smooth sack summer, boys. Let's get on board or get left behind. And don't you dare get left behind. It's a very special episode of Mid-Atlantic, man. I just love 1986. I think listening to this, that'll come through how much Tony and I love it. I hope you'll go out of your way to check it out on the Peacock Network. And tune in next week, where Tony and I will be talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of Forbidden Door and watching some more silly wrestling. But for now, let the good times roll. We take it back to 1986 on What Happened When. Hey, and welcome to adfreeshows.com. And of course, WHW Monday on Patreon. Tony Schiavone is here.
Hey.
We're doing something a little different today. We're watching Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and we're going to do this every single week. Well, until the episodes run out on the network. But this is going to be fun, man. It's a companion piece for our WTBS show. And these are quick hitters, baby. These are all like 45 or 50 minutes. This will be fun.
Yeah, it'll be great. I wonder if once the WWE network moves over to the cock, if in fact they'll download some more Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
I can't imagine that will be the case.
Really?
No, I would think at that point you'd start putting less effort in, not more.
Me?
No, not you, the company.
Oh.
Like, beforehand, maybe they thought people were actually tuning in for the old stuff, but I think all the data shows that most of the views actually come from the current stuff. And then when you and I or, Bruce or JR, or whoever covers something, then they'll see a spike for that. But I don't think the old stuff really pops unless there's an anniversary that they're pushing or it's something that we're pushing on our pods.
So you think they're going to phase this shit out?
No, I'm just saying, I don't think that it will be near the priority. I think old WWF stuff, maybe we'll get more superstars and more wrestling challenge. I don't see them. Oh man. All the guys at NBC, they're itching to hear what Sam Houston was saying in 87. I just don't think they're going to do that.
So let's buy it.
Let's buy what?
All the old Crockett shit. Let's buy it.
Well, I'm down.
Fuck. And we'll put it on our own platform and call it What Happened When. And you go back and you look at all this shit that you loved and fuck the new stuff, except AEW.
Yeah. I was like, well, that's a big time take right there. I don't know if might need to clip that out, but hey,
yep.
Here's what we're doing. We're going to start dropping these every Saturday at 6:05. And we've missed 5 episodes of 86 so far. We're going to go back and do them. But we thought what made most sense for today, because Tony and I are actually recording this on the 6th, the day you're getting it. We wanted to make sure that we had the companion piece for this week's TV. So it'll be all the current stuff that we're watching on WHW. And if you're behind, then none of this mattered and you can actually watch them all in order. But we missed the first 5 weeks. Life got in the way, but we will go back and fix that. It's not too terrible of a commitment since they're only about 45-minute episodes. But let's give some context to what we're watching here, Tony. This Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling show was a syndicated show that had been on TV in some various form for years. And then finally, when you guys land TBS in 85, the TBS show becomes the A show. But this was originally the A show. This was your infomercial to sell tickets to live events and cut promos and put over squash matches and things like that. But then the TBS show really became the A show, and this took a back seat, but it's still a valuable piece of real estate, because they had a ton of affiliates. And we talk about that with Jim Crockett in our sit down interview over at adfreeshows.com. But give some context to what this show was and how important it was prior to TBS.
Well, and I know Dick Bourne would agree with me. This was the show that began my fandom and probably his into pro wrestling, because this was the old Crockett A show. They put Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling in all their key markets. That was their number one show. You saw it in Roanoke. You saw it in Richmond. You saw it in Charlotte, Greensboro, all the big markets that were in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Carolinas, and Virginia. And I think probably a couple of places in West Virginia as well. I'm not sure. but especially Virginia, the Carolinas, Columbia, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, they all had this show. But as time went on, it almost kind of became the C show in a way, because they always had worldwide wrestling.
Right.
As far as I can remember. Now, there was probably a time where there was only Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and maybe Dick Bourne knows when worldwide wrestling started. Don't know when that was. Because I remember Rich Landrum being the commentator for this.
Right.
So now we're talking 70s. And then as we moved on, I remember that when they wanted to expand Jim Crockett Promotions, go into other territories, right? They went with worldwide, because Mid-Atlantic had a Mid-Atlantic connotation to it, only in the Mid-Atlantic. Then they changed this show. I don't know when it came out. They changed this show to NWA Pro Wrestling from Mid-Atlantic. I don't know when that change took place. It was sometime around here that it took place, maybe 87. They changed the name of the show. And then it became Bob Cottle and Jim Ross, and then me and David doing worldwide. So this was the old standby show. This was the bread and butter of Jim Crockett Promotions. And again, you're right, TBS came in and they changed it. Now, this show changed because this show used to be a studio show. It was no longer a studio show. This was a show that we went out and was shot in these places that I can remember: Rock Hill, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Greenwood, South Carolina. Let's see, Catawba, North Carolina, Fayetteville, North Carolina, the Cumberland County Civic Center. We shot shows there. Salisbury, North Carolina. Where else, man? The smaller arenas, Spartanburg. We would go, I believe, on Wednesdays to shoot this, and it was within driving to from Charlotte. So these were cool for me back in the day, because I was able to drive to all these different places with Sandy Scott and Gene Anderson a lot from The Office, and a girl who worked in the office named Brenda Evans. We all rode together a lot. So this was pretty cool for me to be able to do this. So it was a good time, man. The show ceased being a very important, but as we've seen on our TBS shows, they would show a lot of footage from it.
Yes. Let's give some context to this one.
Yeah.
This aired on February 8th, 1986, which, by the way, is also a Saturday. So that's kind of fun. I mean, it's all about wrestling on Saturdays, because this airs the same day that the TBS show airs, and it was different times and different markets, but I would think that this is usually more of a morning show in a lot of markets. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. We're talking not early morning. We're talking mid-morning on Saturdays.
Yeah. So after your Sunday or after your weekend cartoons, Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons, then they would have this. And then of course that night at 6:05, you would see the TBS show, but this is recorded 4 days prior in Spartanburg, South Carolina at the Memorial Auditorium. So it happens on February 4th. It airs on February 8th. Of course, we know on TBS, they would record it first thing that morning and it would air later that night. So Tony, I've got it pulled up on my end. We're going to start with February 8th, 1986. And we'll find a way to incorporate some fun countdowns in the future. But at least for now, Tony, do you want to count us in and we'll watch this 48-minute show together?
We sure will. Once again, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, February 8th, 1986 on the network. Not yet on the cock, but on the network in 3, 2, 1, play.
Back and forth. Look at Rick. Look at Rick now. Taking that shoe off. Just humiliating. Here comes Sam. Dusty Rhodes is at ringside. He went down. Right there. Garvin got him. Oh, he just got him all right. And
Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And we got an exciting hour in store for you this week. First, some big news. The National Tag Team Championships. The titles have been held up by the NWA due to the fact that the Andersons did not defend them within the 30-day time limit stipulation. That due to the injury to Ole Anderson. So those titles have been held up by the NWA, and we'll be keeping you posted from time to time on that. This week, you're going to see a terrific lineup of matches, including the World Tag Team Champions, the Rock and Roll Express. The Midnight Express will be here, the Road Warriors, and we have a special challenge match, Magnum TA and Ivan Koloff, the Big Russian. Talking about the Russians, right here they are, Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, and they have with them their East German comrade, Baron von Raschke. Ivan?
Yes, I have challenged this Magnum TA to come out there and just see what he is made of, to show Nikita, my nephew, just how to defeat this man. Oh, he is big and he is strong and he has proven himself in the past. But he has to prove himself today inside that ring against Ivan Koloff. I'm just going to see how good it is. You know, Nikita, my nephew, is destined to be United States heavyweight champion, whether the American people like it or not. He is going down to defeat because Nikita has more ability than him. He is stronger than him. He is younger than him, and he is a better wrestler. And Magnum TA, you are going to find it out hard way. And as far as Road Warriors are concerned, yes, you're big, you're bad, you're strong, you're also very deceptive and very sneaky. You come out, sneak up, break Crusher Khrushchev's leg. Now you think you have triple the Koloff family. It has just started. Baron von Raschke is now at the services of the Koloff family. Baron.
Das ist richtig. My genius manager, Paul Jones, has given mine services to the Russians. We have formed an axis of power, and we are going to be being superior athletes, unbeatable and unstoppable. And whether it be Magnum TA, the Road Warriors, or whoever, I'm going to be on the side of the Russians. And we're coming after you. No one's going to stop us. No one can get in our way. We have important missions to accomplish, and that is all the people need to know.
Baron von Raschke, the Sherman comrade now, the Russians, Ivan Nikita Koloff. And to the ring.
Dude, first of all, how great was the entrance music and graphics for this show?
Yeah, man.
Hits you right in the feels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Now, that's not the music I remember, but that was music that was the official music later on that they used. I always thought, and Dick Bourne can lend into this a little bit better than I can. I always wondered, even back as a fan, why they used the state of Florida and Tennessee and even maybe West Virginia, because that wasn't the Mid-Atlantic region territories as we knew it.
Well, but they started running, you know, they had an alliance with Championship Wrestling from Florida, and they were doing shows down there. And man, I got to tell you, I know we both love the TBS studio show, but this gives context, seeing the guys in a big sold out arena like this and the Rock and Roll Express coming through the crowd and fans going nuts. I even like the camera angle that we're using here. It's different than our normal hard cam spot that we're sort of conditioned to with WCW and the WWF and AEW. This is like a look down. I dig this.
Yeah. And this is where you'll see Jackie Crockett. You see Jackie at the right and he's back to the hard camera with one of the cameras. You know, I'm sorry, but I really am not so sure where this is. It's a much bigger arena than I can remember, because we did, you know, again, we did Greenville, we did Spartanburg, but
this is Spartanburg. This is the Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg.
It is?
Yes. And they're wrestling Gene Ligon and Mark Fleming.
This can't be Spartanburg.
Okay.
I'm not going to deny. I mean, I know you probably did some research and found out, but Spartanburg look much smaller to me than this. Well, I don't know.
So, by the way, this just looks big. I mean, you saw when they made their way to the ring, I mean, they didn't have to go very far from the back to there.
Okay. So it's, anyway, so we had, you didn't need to, in these shows, you didn't need to sweeten it, right?
Right.
Because the crowd was into everything. And you brought in the Rock and Roll Express at the beginning, and everybody screamed and shrieked and shouted, and it was a good time. And there's our buddy Tommy Young as the referee.
They're saying when I looked it up, this had a capacity of 3217.
Okay, and
that was for the auditorium, or a theater rather, and a 2,500 seat arena. So even though it looks much bigger, it's 2,500 folks.
Well, did a good job with it. There's your double drop kick. Boom.
Quick work here. I wish we could play the old music, but you know, they dub in WWE stuff, and I get that.
Yeah, I do too.
When we do that, we lose some of the actual crowd noise. And here's the replay. Give us a call here, Tony.
Okay. Ricky Martin sending Jim Jeffers in. A good reversal by Jeffers, but watch out the tag. The blind tag's been made to Robert Gibson. He's going to duck down through. And ladies and gentlemen, that sets up, as David Crockett would have said, double drop kick.
I love you.
And the winners of the match, the Rock and Roll Express. Let's go to Bob Caudle.
Well, there's no doubt about it, fans. The Rock and Roll Express are excitement in the ring. When you talk about excitement, you got to put this man right here up there with anybody in the ring, the Raging Bull.
Bob Caudle, 1985, 10 years after a day of my life. You know, all my life when I was old enough to compete, I always took pride in winning. I took pride deep and down in my heart to do my best, do 110%. But in 1975, what the people call a Vietnam experience, I became a loser. And at that time, it took 10 years of my life to forget about it. In 1985, closed out, Arn Anderson, you hit me with a chair. And I went out a loser, Daddy. And that time, I made my mind up. The Bull don't lose no more. Come 1986, the self-proclaimed year of the Rage, Daddy. That means, Arn Anderson, you win that World Television title. It's up to me to come and get it. Well, baby, if anybody knows anybody can rock and roll better than the Bull, then you better get out and do it. Because I'm coming after that World Television title in 1986, Daddy. I'm going to show you I ain't a loser. I'm taking it to me.
All right, fans, we'll be right back. Right after we take this time out.
I ain't a loser. How about that?
Yeah, hitting on the pushback from the Vietnam era.
Oh, here's another promo from the Nature Boy. Here we go.
The world champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair.
You know, Bob, it is so nice to know that you're loved by all. Let me tell you a story. I have a friend that once asked me, he said, Rick, do you know how you tell a Scotsman from a Scotswoman? I said, no, I really don't. He said, you tell by the tilt in their kilt. Now, I'll show you how you tell a real man by a would-be man. And if there's a woman in this joint that wouldn't like to squeeze these, put that camera on that one time. That's why I'm wearing blue jeans out here tonight. Now let's talk about North Carolina, Dean Smith, the Tar Heels, Ric Flair. We're all number one. You know why? Because nobody can beat us. Georgia Tech couldn't beat Carolina. Duke couldn't beat Carolina. Dusty Rhodes couldn't beat Ric Flair. And Ronnie Garvin cannot make me break a sweat. As far as the national tag team belts go, we all know that if the NWA had allowed me to wear one of those belts and defend it with my great cousin, the legendary Arn Anderson, the odds of anybody beating us and
astronomical.
Those 2 kids that run around with scarves around their legs, call themselves the world champions, and have got a bunch of teeny boppers in training bras thinking they're a big deal, is astronomical. Now let's face it, and I see a lot of intelligent people here tonight. You've known me for a few years. Am I the best there is? Huh? Am I the world champion? That's why I take guys like Garvin and Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA and I drop them like bad habits. Because you see, when you're on a plateau,
unequaled by anybody else in the world today. You remember two things. Diamonds are forever, and so is Ric Flair. Woo!
The world heavyweight champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair. Let's go to the ring.
Dude, diamonds are forever.
So's Ric Flair.
How great is that?
And he was talking about knowing that he was on Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling and knowing that it was based in the Carolinas. He was Carolinaed up with Duke and North Carolina, Georgia Tech, ACC basketball, all that stuff. So
what a great shot, man.
Yeah, it is. That's why I can't believe.
There's your man right there.
Yeah, man. Tony Zane with that Georgia Bulldog thing on. That's why I can't believe that that it's Spartanburg. I'm going to challenge that.
Tony Zane looks like stupid ass Stan.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's see, when he takes his top off, he looks like Stan. Unfortunately, we've seen Stan with his top off.
Well, let's not brag about that.
No, well, it's a fact of life. Yeah, there you go. Poor Baron, he was, he's still with us, but he had shoulder surgery here by this time in his career. So it was really hard for him to even raise his arms up because he had his shoulders cut on. But I didn't give a shit, man. I loved him.
Womp, 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 womp.
I loved Baron von Raschke. Only because I got to see Jim Raschke behind the scenes.
All right, I'm looking up another source right now. Since you want to be so goddamn argumentative.
I'm not goddamn argumentative. I just know that Spartanburg had a low ceiling. This is kind of a big arena. Now, let me tell you why I can see it's a big arena. You can see in the background sometimes these lit up neon signs that they would have in bigger arenas. Spartanburg was just like Spartanburg is kind of a place that you would see an independent show now. So I don't know. I don't know. See those signs in the background there? That Coca-Cola sign, those are signs for big arenas that had a second level to them.
Wow. You know what? They have different information here.
Yeah.
What about it?
Yeah. See, damn it. And you say, I don't remember shit. Well, motherfucker.
Why are you cussing me?
I ain't cussing you. I'm cussing everybody else out there that says, I don't remember shit. I can remember some shit. Can't always remember my name, but I remember shit. There you go. Yeah. Put another claw on him. That's me putting a claw on everybody.
Oh shit. You know where this happened?
Where?
I'll be goddamned. And that makes sense based on son of a whore. All right. So here's what happened. When Flair just said they got scarves tied around their legs, running around here calling themselves tag team champions, I'm like, well, they had already lost them. All right, let's go to, man, look at JJ's hair here. JJ and Tully with Bob Caudle.
Director. Okay, that's good. Please get it straight from now on. You people out here, you, Weaver, all the people that work for Jim Crockett Promotions and Nemo Production do a great job, but please get your facts straight from now on, okay? Now, Dusty Rhodes.
I'll make him the boss. How would that be, Tully?
No, I'm the boss, and don't you ever forget it. Dusty Rhodes, the message is being sent good and clear. The domino effect, working strong, right, James J? The Achilles heel, down the tubes. Jimmy Valiant, you stepped out of your league, and you proved it. I proved it, and the message was sent. You were the sacrificial lamb, and I was the butcher man. Now, Dusty Rhodes, you got that national heavyweight title. You walk around parading yourself along with that, less than a woman. But you know, Dusty Rhodes, I got things to prove to you. One, for the insult of carrying her around and talking about you being a better man, and one, for you being a better wrestler. And you like to talk real good. But Dusty Rhodes, I'm going to take the national heavyweight title and prove once and for all who is the best wrestler.
You know, Bob, there's an old adage about possession's 9/10 of the law, but in this case there is an exception. And with regard to Baby Doll, when Rhodes go down, she will come crawling back, but this time it won't be in the same light.
And then the lessons are going to be taught. And you can count on that, Baby Doll, because you belong with who made you.
Tully Blanchard, Mr. James J. Dillon here at ringside to the ring. And another one of Paul Jones's men in that corner, Johnny. You just saw Baron von Raschke. Now you're looking at one that's just equally as disturbing or more so when you have to look across the ring and see him. Here's the Wild Man, the Barbarian.
Quite an awesome.
So here we go. I figured out what the deal is, and this is my bad. This is a syndicated show. So they've got to not only record the show, then they've got to edit it up, get it on the tapes, and then they've got to distribute it to all of the different channels. So because of that, they have to tape this show further in advance. This show was actually taped January 28th, which made a lot more sense when Dusty, or not Dusty, but Rick was referencing the Rock and Roll Express still being the tag champs, because as we know, they lost that on Superstars on the Superstation.
Right. And they came in the first match with the belts.
Yes.
Right.
So they had them January 28th. They've lost them by the time it airs. So obviously, eventually WCW would figure this out and they would tape shit way in advance, and you would see guys randomly come to the ring with or without belts and like, wait a minute, I don't remember that happening. But by the time it aired, it all made sense.
Sure.
So this is happening in Rock Hill, South Carolina at the Winthrop Coliseum. Has a capacity of 6,100. There's actually 5,000 fans there. It's a loaded night. I mean, a ton of matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 matches recorded that night in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That's January 28th. Of course, it's airing here on February 8th. But man, the continuity of the Rock and Roll Express coming out with the belts, when later that night, we're going to see the Midnights run around with them. That's got to be a little confusing, right?
Yeah, that is, again, we didn't have a continuity person, and you can even say that we didn't have one in WCW in the 90s. Continuity is such a big part of what we do and should do, and just, it wasn't done correctly back then. So I'm sure it was something that again, you know,
if you just go look at a picture of that arena that we're talking about, Winthrop Coliseum in Rock Hill, dude, there's no denying that's the building they're in.
Yeah, it was a big building.
Oh my God, Dusty's here with that fucking coat. Here we go.
Champion, here's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes and Baby Doll. And Dusty, I know you and Baby Doll heard some tough words that were put down on you two a few minutes ago by J.J. Dillon and Tully Blanchard.
Well, Bob Kyle, the thing that really hits Dusty Rhodes in the face is last week Arn Anderson come out here, J.J. Dillon come out here, and they said, since when does Dusty Rhodes send a lady or a woman out to do his talking for him? Let me tell you what, Daddy. I'm walking and talking with the prettiest thing this side of the moon, you understand? The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes and Baby Doll together. This ain't Donnie Marie Osborne here, baby. This is true flesh, blood, getting down boogie woogie fever. And let me tell you something, Tully Blanchard, coming out here talking about Dusty Rhodes and JJ saying, when we beat you, Dusty Rhodes, Baby Doll gonna come back crawling on her hands and knees. Let me tell you, that day ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna be there. And Tully Blanchard, you remember one thing that the world remembers, this one thing that you know how to say better than anything in the world, and that is, I quit. I quit. I quit. I quit. That there is enough to make you cringe in your boots. And Ric Flair, the nature boy, come out here wearing a pair of jeans that he bought in some highfalutin store out in Los Angeles, California. My jeans come from Texas, and I feel them real well, you understand? And if ever there is a time, Ric Flair, that you think for 1 minute that Dusty Rhodes is not your superior, you let me know about it, because these jeans that I'm wearing here, like I say, if I want them filled with anything else than them big 38-inch thighs I got, then all I got to do is turn around and see what's going to fill them. You understand what I'm talking about? That's what it's all about.
The American Dream.
He just called Baby Doll fat right there. Kind of did, didn't he?
I don't know. He wanted a big pop about, I got these jeans in Texas.
But he's in South Carolina.
Yeah. I got these, but he wanted the big pop and he didn't get it. And that was that long pause.
Yeah.
Because he was expecting the big pop, so he had to rethink what he was doing.
Look at that. No fancy entrance set, just right down from the locker room. There they come. Hawk trips over the guardrail. Man, they're just going to take it out on this poor motherfucker.
Exactly.
I tripped, so fuck you. Bam. Golden Terror. Yeah. Fuck you and Georgia Tech. No, eat that boot, you son of a bitch. Trip me.
Exactly. Oh. And the guy on the outside is like, don't tag my ass in, please.
And you know, our referee, Tommy Young, is like, oh, they're just killing him. I said, geez, Joe, ease up a little. Tell Mike to calm down.
That's it.
Lord.
Oh, the other guy's thinking, thank God.
It was supposed to be a work. They're shooting. Look at, dude. Is Paul Ellering, when he's wearing this fucking gi and the sunglasses, does he not look like he's ready for Cobra Kai season 4? He's like the sleazy promoter. Yes, he's got like a fucking Trans Am with T-tops, blaring some REO Speedwagon. So have you ever been nude on video before? Seriously.
Sound like Taz there.
Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that.
But I know where we're going with this. This is exciting for me because we haven't heard this much of it.
Sam Houston.
Here
we go.
A lot of champions. We've been talking about a lot of championship belts. The one right here that I am really pleased is in the hands of this young man, the Mid-Atlantic Championship, Sam Houston. Sam, I tell you, you're a real pride of that thing.
Thank you, Mr. Connell. You know, I try real hard. I try every time I go out there in the past few weeks that I have been the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. I've gone out there and I've found out that it's a lot harder than I ever thought it would be. You've got a lot of top contenders out there. You've got a lot of people out there wanting titles, and that's something I've got right here as a Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. Something I want to say real quick is I want to thank everybody here and everybody everywhere for the support and all the cards and letters that I've received and that they've written, taking the time to get to. I can't answer them, but, you know, I do read them. And something I would like to say real quick is I've gone through a lot so far defending this title, and I'll go through a lot more to keep it. I'll do anything I've got to do to hold on to this thing. This is my title, is the way I feel about it, and I'm going to defend it for everybody in any arena, anywhere. I'm out there fighting for this belt, fighting for you, and fighting for everything that I believe in. It's going to take a lot to put me down, and there's something else I'd like to say, too. The NWA is the best in professional wrestling today. Now, you had Mr. Ric Flair out here. He is the world heavyweight champion.
That's right.
He is the #1 man in professional wrestling today. Mr. Flair, I'm one step closer to your title now. And the only way to hold me back and keep me from fulfilling my dream of being the NWA World Heavyweight Champion is to not only put me down, but put me out for good. Because I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep standing back up. I'm going to keep getting back up, dusting my rear end off if I have to, stand back there and keep coming at you the best way I know how. And that's head on. And I'll do anything I have to do. I'll reiterate that fact over and over again. I am going to fulfill my dreams of being the World Heavyweight Champion.
No, you're not.
Quick work of the opponents in the ring. The Road Warriors with Paul Ellering. Hawk and Animal. Hawk.
Hey, you know, from what I understand, from what I've been able to make up on it, read newspapers and stuff, in Russia, they tell you what time to wake up in the morning. They tell you what to eat all day. They tell you when to go to bed. Well, the first Russian that ever tells me or Animal anything is gonna get his lights punched out. That's the truth right there. And one sticking line, lights punched out. Now, if you'll notice, the stinking Russians have a new member to the Koloff family, Baron von Raschke. Why have they got a new partner? I'll tell you why. Because Animal twisted Crusher Crusade's leg just about off his stinking body. That's why. Now Nikita Koloff, since they've been fighting us, he looks like he's losing weight. And Ivan Koloff, well, he's getting a little shorter and a little uglier. Well, that's because they're fighting us. And when you fight us, you have a shorter outlook on extension of life in general. Tell him, Paul.
You know, I've often wondered, hearing the Russians, how can so many idle comments come out of mouths as busy as theirs are? All the people here know that wrestling is a game in which you teach or learn. Well, we've learned a valuable lesson from the Russians. And that's how to stab somebody in the back, how to attack somebody from the back. So Russians, in the past, we've been the teachers, and we're going to be the teachers again. We're going to teach you how it feels to be stabbed in the back.
The Road Warriors, Paul Ellering. Fans, to the ring, here's Jim Cornette.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you now the next tag team champions of the world. Welcome them to the ring, Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express.
So there we go. That's Sam Houston promo. Why? I mean, what you were excited for that? Why?
Because I wanted to see how bad it would be.
Oh,
and
I
wasn't disappointed.
No.
They put him on there because he's a Mid-Atlantic champion, and this is Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Should have rethought that shit.
Yeah. Two things about it. It was a terrible interview. I often tell kids when I talk to them who are doing promos, when they ask for advice, I always say, know how you're going to end your promo.
Yeah.
Because you can ramble. Sam was rambling. He didn't know how to end his interview. And that was a classic case of what not to do. Of course, he just can't do an interview, and either you can, you can't. I really think that. I think you get better if you work at it. But I think the ones that can really do promos just really know how to do it, right? A second thing is that Sam had the classic mistake of he was looking at himself in the monitor. Did you notice that all the time?
Yes.
He couldn't look at the camera he would just kept glancing the monitor, which
he's self-conscious about what he looks like and how he's doing and all that.
And I remember saying to Wayne and Emerson, the guys at Nemo, and I'll talk about Nemo in a minute because Ricky Morton mentioned I remember telling those guys, I say, let's turn the monitor off.
Yes.
So they can't see themselves. Luger was a classic case of doing that. But did you notice when the Road Warriors were talking that Animal kept looking at himself? But when Hawk was talking, even when he finished talking, he didn't look at the monitor at all.
No.
Hawk knew what the fuck he looked like.
Yeah.
And he knew how to be a badass, man. And those are just
Hawk had a presence like a main event guy.
Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did. He knew what he was doing, man. And that was they just destroyed Pez and Rocky King, and
that was short work there.
And did you also notice that they booed the Road Warriors, and as they're talking, they were chanting rock and roll.
Yep.
How over Ricky and Robert back then, buddy.
You ready for the best promo? I don't even know what he's going to say, but Arn looks like a fucking stud here, and we're going to hear from him shortly.
It's going to be better than Sam Houston.
I'm fired. Well, I don't think that's much of a spoiler. Dude, this is going to be badass. Let's track it.
Fans with us right now, the World Television Champion, Arn Anderson. Arn, right now, all the wrestling fans are aware of the fact that the NWA held up the National Tag Team Championship due to the fact that you and Ole could not defend the title.
Well, Bob Cottle, I'm as miserable as a man can possibly be for the simple fact that Ole Anderson is not back, for the simple fact that the injury he had at the hands of Dusty Rhodes and the Road Warriors is worse than we anticipated, and you've known him for a long time. I've known him, and anybody that knows him, period, knows if he would have been physically able, he would have defended that title. So Dusty Rhodes, I'm holding you responsible personally for the fact that you've dipped into my meal ticket, you've dipped into my financial situation. Nobody has beat us for the national tag team titles, although a lot have tried, so they've just tamed and stripped it away. But I'm going to put that aside for a moment, and Manny Fernandez, I'm going to mention you very briefly. You're out here singing the blues, crying about what happened to you 10 years ago in some swamp in Vietnam. Well, 10 years ago, Manny Fernandez, I was in 11th grade in high school, driving every cheerleader in the county out of her mind. So that's my good fortune and your bad fortune. The fact is, this is 1985. This is the prize, and you want to come get it. You're going to be dealing with a world champion in elite class with Tully Blanchard, Ric Flair, and myself. Now, we may be down to the 3 horsemen, but I'm going to tell you something, Dusty Rhodes. No promotion, whether it be Jim Crockett, Bob Goddard, or anybody else, is going to come to me and say, Arn, hand this over. You don't deserve it, you can't defend it, or for whatever reason. There's going to be no stipulations, and don't send no painted lady out here to threaten me.
If you want this, Dusty Rhodes, I'm holding you personally responsible. If you want this, you're going to have to physically take it and everything that entails.
Fans here.
How great was that?
Wow.
Painted lady. All right, he's got Rock and Roll Express and Ron Garvin. Here we go.
I tell you, Jim Cornette, he's still back there. He's still pushing, and he won't let it lie.
That's right, Bob. You know, it never fails to amaze me how Jimmy Cornette can come out here and say how good his Midnight Express is and how bad they are. But he's the one just standing outside the ring. He's not the one that's in the ring. But let me tell you something, Jimmy Cornette. One thing that we hate, that is a liar. Now, we tell the truth. Tell you one thing, brother, we mean it. Now, this is a promise from the Rock and Roll Express, especially to you, Jimmy Cornette, that we're going to get you and we're going to take you down hard.
Like you said, baby, Jimmy Cornette, you're ours.
Ronnie Garvin, I tell you, there's a championship belt, a world championship belt around the waist that you'd like to get around yours.
That's right. First of all, let me say, these guys, Rock and Roll Express, they got a lot of gusto. I'm going to tell you, they get out there and they do a lot of fighting. Now, we talk about Ric Flair. You know, you give Ric Flair an inch, he wants a foot. He became the world champion, and now all of a sudden, he's a superior being. He comes out here with a pair of jeans, and all of a sudden, he's a cowboy. Well, I'm going to be the one that's going to knock him off his high horse. I've already knocked him out on national TV, and I'm very proud of the fact that I've done it, because I proved something. Now, he says, is there life after Ric Flair? Well, Flair, is there life after you wrestle Ronnie Garvin? Is there life for Flair? Well, I'm going to tell you, you get ready for a downfall that you never had in your life. You get ready, because Ronnie Garvin is here, and he's here for one purpose, is to become the next world's champion. And believe me, I've got a lot of followers behind me. I've got a lot of people that write me letters that say, go. And I'm going all the way. And I mean all the way. I mean what I'm saying. I mean business.
Ronnie Garvin. All right, fans, we're ready now for the special challenge match. The United States champion, Magnum TA, and the Russian, Ivan Koloff. And there they are in the ring, Johnny Weaver.
Holy cow, Bob. Hold on to your chair. This one should really be a wild one. But there is a development. Look, Nikita in there at the side of Ivan.
Wow.
A lot of promos.
A lot of promos. Orange was great. He had the year wrong, but who gives a shit? He was driving all the cheerleaders around the county wild when he was in the 11th grade, which I thought was tremendous. But of course, we're talking about January anyway. So, and here's kind of a special match, to put on TV. Of course, it's going to end up being an angle, which we've seen where they wrap the chain around Nikita, I think. I believe that's how it's going to happen here. And they're giving it some time here. Nemo, by the way, and I mentioned this, it was mentioned by Ricky Morton on the interview. Nemo was National Electronic Mobile Operation, which was the truck that Crockett's had purchased, which was run by Emerson Lawson. They had their own video truck.
Where'd y'all find Nemo?
So anyway,
sorry, I had to.
I know. And again, Nemo not only was a truck, it was an edit suite. I mean, we never edited these things down. When we left Rock Hill here, we had a complete show with graphics and everything that was done basically on the fly in the back with videotape. So that's why, that's why Rock and Roll Express came out here, because it had changed, but we didn't have an edit suite to go in there and change things. I mean, I don't even know if I'm sure edit suites were, well, of course they were, because the WWE had them. And that's one thing that blew my mind when I left Crockett 3 years later, or left the NWA 3 years later, Turner. I'd never heard of an edit suite.
Right.
I just, man, we left the arena with, and all of a sudden I go there and I'm thinking, holy shit, man, this is the way TV really is supposed to be done. So that kind of blew my mind, but this is just, old school mom and pop shit that still played, still looked good. Fans sounded great. They love Ricky and Robert, love Sam Houston. It's pretty apparent that Jake got all the talent in that family.
What about Rockin' Robin?
Rockin' Robin was okay.
Oh yeah, Jay got all the talent. Yeah,
he did get all the talent.
You know they're going to be a subject of Dark Side of the Ring season 3.
What the Grizzlies family?
Yeah,
yeah.
Hey, by the way, I saw our friend over there, Evan, sent me a great video, a little snippet of one of JR's sit down interviews.
Yeah,
I'm gonna forward it to you right now. We can't play it on the show.
Okay,
but my God, I howled with laughter.
I want to say something about Jake. You know, it's been well documented, his return. He is such a delight to talk to now. He really is. I have a lot of fun with Jake. You know how much fun it is. They've got a coach's room in the back.
Yeah.
And you can sit back there and talk to Jake and Arn and Dean Malenko and Jerry Lynn. Oh my God. You know what this is?
What is this?
This is the Phil segment.
Let's track it.
It's always great to see people that you think deserve something get it, and you're a deserving young man.
Thank you, Mr. Connell. You know, I kind of feel the same way about that. But let me tell you, it's not just deserving to be a champion that makes you a champion. And it's not getting up in the morning and eating your Wheaties in the morning that makes you a heavyweight champion. What makes you a heavyweight champion is pride, determination, and going out and accomplishing your goals and doing everything you can to fulfill your dreams. And that's what I've done. Now, I was out here a little while ago, and I heard some things. I heard Mr. Ric Flair, the world heavyweight champion, talk about diamonds are forever, just like Ric Flair. Well, there's a lot of things that, you know, diamonds start out as a piece of coal a long time ago, and they work their way up to diamonds, to becoming diamonds. Ric Flair is a world heavyweight champion. Now, years and years and years down the line, he's going to be an older man, a much older man. You know, and that's where somebody like me comes in. Somebody that's starting young, somebody that's starting out right, somebody that's starting out at the age of 20, or accomplishing a goal that he set for himself, becoming the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. By the time I'm 30, I hope to be the World Heavyweight Champion. That's 10 years from now, and if I can't do it in that time, you know, there's not a whole lot left. You know, you've got to go out and start the things out that you want. You've got to start and get them out young, and determination is the only way to do that. Magnum TA is a very determined young man. Dusty Rhodes is a determined man. If they can't beat Ric Flair, you know, Ric Flair is unbeatable. But I've seen the man been pinned several times before by these two gentlemen, and somebody is going to get that world heavyweight title. It may be Dusty, Magnum, or me.
All right, any action?
What the fuck, dude?
All right, here's what that was. That was filler. And the reason that was filler, it had a different background, right? NWA background. It was the position that we used to cover with the local promos.
I see.
So if you did not have an event coming your way,
got it,
you would see that interview. But if you were in Richmond and we were in the Richmond Coliseum, we would insert the Richmond Coliseum.
Got it.
That was a filler. So they just, Sam, go back out there. It's filler anyway and do it. And that was horrible, wasn't it?
It's one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the worst interviews I've ever heard. But they needed filler. Sam, go out there and do it. It was 2 minutes, and I remember they had a clock on that on the monitor, and it was 2 minutes and 28 seconds to fill a 2:30 spot.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's two of them. I mean, and you can tell by the different backgrounds. Sam did that one, and I think the other one was Ric Flair.
Let's talk about Magnum for a minute.
All right.
Magnum TA. You know, a lot of people who are younger may not even put this together. It's maybe one of the most blatant ripoffs of pop culture ever. I mean, because Magnum TA is just a ripoff of Magnum PI, right?
Right. Exactly.
Show first started airing back in December of 1980. It's going to go off the air in May of 88. So it's still on the air here. And the idea is good looking dude in good shape, got the big mustache, got the curly hair, got the big hairy chest. That was all the rage back then. Let's make him our guy, make him cool. And, yeah, Magnum PI is sort of parodied or paid homage to, whatever. It's Magnum TA. And in hindsight, people don't even really talk about that, you know, because he got over so well and did so well, but it's kind of a fucking silly gimmicky way to get a name, isn't it?
Yeah. Who gave him that name? Is it documented? Did Watts give him that name?
I believe he picked it up in the Watts territory.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, Magnum PI was a hell of a show. I mean, I don't know if I didn't watch that much of it, but it was a popular show that lasted, as you said, a lot of years. And he had a Tom Selleck look about him. But you're right. It was like, okay, rip off the name. No one gives a shit.
Yeah. And the idea is he wrestled his real name is Terry Allen.
Right.
And so TA instead of private investigator, because it was Magnum PI, like private investigator. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll go Magnum TA because your initials are TA. And yeah, he did start calling himself Magnum TA in Mid-South. But before that, he had wrestled from like 78 in the various NWA territories, championship wrestling from Florida for Don Owens up in the Pacific Northwest Wrestling. But yeah, once he debuts with Watts wants to position him as the American heartthrob, Magnum TA.
Yeah.
But it would be like, if all of a sudden there was a wrestler who looked like Matt Damon, oh, this is Jimmy Bourne, instead of Jason. It's like, what the fuck? That's goofy.
Yeah.
But shit, if the guy could get it over, and he did, it worked. And now we see a little interference. It's breaking down here.
Yep.
Nikita's in there and bam, there comes Baron.
Yeah. So they're doing an angle here. This angle that was replayed on TBS on a show that we did on What Happened When and on our podcast. So this is the angle. Pretty good angle, really.
Well, this is actually going to drop ahead of the podcast.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is coming out today.
Anyway. Okay. So got it. So anyway, we're getting ready to do on our podcast.
Yes. How about this Russian sickle? I'm going to wrap my arm with a chain. That's a big move for 1986, bud.
Yeah. And like I said before, like I will say, when you hear the podcast,
here he comes. Here's Dusty.
Here comes us. Probably the last man that you wanted. Ooh, watch out. You wanted to see, hit you with a sickle with a chain is Nikita Koloff. And look at this, man.
Baby Doll and Dusty could wear the same jeans. Here we go.
By the hair! He looks like he's going to clothesline her.
Dusty got it out of the way. He gets caught with it. He got caught with it. A tremendous clothesline.
He saved Baby Doll and he took the full force of that sickle.
The ring filling up. The ring filling up with wrestlers, but 2 men have fallen. 2 men are down. That Magnum was down from the chain.
What a wild finish to that match, fans. You saw the Russians and the East German Baron von Raschke, all three attack Magnum TA. They had the chain. They were working him over. Dusty Rhodes comes flying into the ring to give Magnum TA some help, really, to keep him from getting seriously injured. Baby Doll also got in there, and you've never seen anybody fight like Baby Doll was fighting in the ring, and she was fighting for Dusty. Just as the big Russian, Nikita Koloff, looked like he was going to put the Russian sickle on Baby Doll, while Ivan held her by the hair of the head, Dusty Rhodes came flying at her, knocked her out of the way. He took the full force of that sickle right across the throat, almost took his head off. Then we had just a ring full diving in to break it up. What a wild and woolly time right there. And fans, let's go back and let's see some of that was going on into the ring there.
So yeah, you saw Dusty try to get her out of harm's way. He hit her with like a low key spear, or shoulder tackle, and down she goes.
And what you're also seeing here is a show that went way short.
Yes. And they're trying to fill time again.
Right. That's why they threw Bob Cottle. And I thought Bob did a great job on the fly, not knowing he had to.
Yeah.
To fill time. And he was filling time until Wayne Daniel got the replay ready. I thought Bob did a great job here, but that's again, a show that you can't go back and post. You got a certain amount of time. You got to fill it. Right. It's kind of like it's live to tape. That's what we say.
Yeah.
It's a live show and he's got to kind of fill it. And so did a good job there.
Baby Doll had that wagon, didn't she?
Yeah. I thought it was a pretty good wagon.
Oh, it was Roll Tide.
I liked it.
Bob's back. We got somebody here.
Back, buddy.
He's just going to filibuster.
Yeah, I know. He's just going to fill the time here. Bob's doing a great job of doing that. And So these were good angles. I mean, one thing that I noticed, I know you did, was when Nikita and was attacking the girl and or trying to fend off the girl. He wasn't attacking the girl, obviously. Trying to fend off the girl, and the Road Warriors said the fans were into it big time, weren't they?
Big time.
Yeah, that crowd reaction is legit. There's no sweetening of that crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how hot it was back then. I'm not so sure. Well, listen, we do have great crowd responses now. When we had full houses,
sure,
we had great, but nothing like that. It was a different era. It was the sound was different, and they're going to show it once again. Here's in slow motion. Let's see if he works this sickle or not.
Well, TA was falling down, but still he connected.
Yeah, he did. He was trying to, but again, Nikita's green. And I said on our podcast, the last man of the three that I want to hit me with that sickle. Look at Bob saying, holy shit.
Track it. You know what, though? I want to hear him say goodbye. I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
Okay.
The beginning of the end as it all broke loose at that point. All right, fans, we're going to see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
I like his sign off.
So long for now.
I love the old JCP Sports logo right there too. Just very primitive graphic, but great stuff.
Yep. Oh, a lot of these people I remember. Wayne Daniel, they put Wayne Daniel on there twice. Brent Evans did our electronic graphics. There's Jackie and Doug Dellinger, Skeeter Brawley. I don't think Skeeter's with us. Larry McGraw was another cop from Charlotte, North Carolina. Klondike Bill doing the lighting. And remote facilities by Nemo.
Shout out to Klondike Bill's family, who I've recently become more acquainted with.
Yep, good people.
Skeeter Brawley, what a name! Did his mama name him Skeeter?
I don't know. Skeeter was a legendary. I would say legendary. Skeeter ran, and Toby Jenkins were from Columbia, South Carolina, and Skeeter ran camera for a long time. I think he recently passed away. Every time the Georgia Bulldogs would play South Carolina in basketball in South Carolina, I would always see Skeeter still running a camera. So he'd been around for a long time. So what a crew.
Well, this was fun, boys and girls, and hopefully we're adding a little context to what's going on in Jim Crockett Promotions. We're going to try to fill up the backlog. We missed episodes from January 4th, 11th, 18th, and 25th, as well as the first episode of February, which was the first. We're going to go back and backfill that, but you can look forward to in the future. Every Saturday, you're going to get another Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling until what's on the network runs out. But Tony, that was kind of fun. I like just seeing Bob Cottle a little more.
Yeah. Bob's tremendous and a great, legitimately good person. And I love that you talked about backfill, because we talked about backfill a lot during the show. Jeans, backfill, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Well, listen, this is good stuff. I had a fun time with you today, and unfortunately, it looks like it's about that time.
We are desperately out of time. The tape machines are rolling. We will bring you once again some shows here on ad-free shows going back and reliving 1986. But until that time, thank you for joining us on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com. Remember the days when you were always ready to go? Well, now you can be again with Blue Chew. They've got the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. Take them anytime. You can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the process is super simple. You sign up at bluechew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And man, once you're approved, you'll get your prescription in a few days. That's it. And here's the best part. It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. And Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WHW at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. The promo code is WHW and you receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and it's 6:05 on Saturday. You know what that means. It's time for Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great. I'm going back, Conrad, again, and taking a look at some of the old Mid-Atlantic stuff, the old territories, as they're calling them on the WWE network. And we're at a time, we've been covering 1986 the entire year. We're at a really a transitional time, I would think, because Crockett has been on TV, national TV, for a couple of years, and the WWE is moving out. So what I'm trying to say is that we're at the end of the territories, I would think, right? 86, around that time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So it's an important part in the history of pro wrestling. It really is. I'm glad to be watching it.
I'm glad to be watching it too. Of course, we're doing a new thing here that we just started last week. We're going to be watching the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling show every Saturday. It's a companion piece for the WTBS show. Tony, in case people are hearing this extra little bonus piece for the very first time, explain what Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, the TV show, was.
For those of you, let's say, who grew up watching the WWF, they had two syndicated shows, Superstars and Challenge, their A show and their B show. Jim Crockett Promotions had two shows, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling and Worldwide Wrestling. They're two syndicated shows. Mid-Atlantic was really their A show because that was the one that was put into the key markets in the Carolinas, Virginia, and maybe some of the other places. Worldwide was their B show, kind of flipped later, but this was their A show, their syndicated show. I don't know if you've uncovered, and maybe Dick Bourne knows how many stations Mid-Atlantic was on at its peak, but it was on the big markets in the Carolinas.
It's funny you say that because we just discovered that in talking with Jim Crockett Jr. For our brand new interview that by the time you're hearing this comes out tomorrow. Cool. And we're pretty excited about that. It'll be a two-parter. Part one is over 3 hours, but in part two, we talk about the purchase of Bill Watts territory. And of course that's been cussed and discussed for decades, but we got an insight into what the business proposition of that was. And usually when you hear people be critical of that decision, it's just the boys. It's not someone who was necessarily office. And Crockett explained, hey man, he helped me get over the magic number we needed to be a major player in syndication. And from what I understand, that number was 100. So they had just over 100 stations once they got Crockett's territory. But I guess it makes sense, if you're trying to sell commercial space to, Post Serial, they don't just want to buy ads in the Carolinas, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. No, they want to buy ads nationally. And if you can have a bigger footprint and not buying onesie twosie buys, but buying, we're in over 100 markets, that's pretty attractive. Right. So Crockett is still actively trying to grow the business behind the scenes, and they're making money hand over fist here. I mean, some record houses, but at the same time, expenses are going nuts, and they don't have all of the ancillary income from things like merchandise. And we discuss all of that in the new interview with Jim Crockett. So I hope people check it out. It'll be the second episode of Conversations with Conrad, but at least for now, let's watch another episode of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. What you want to do is fire up your WWE network, click on in-ring, scroll down until you see territories, scoot over until you see Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And we're on February 15th, 1986. This is going to be fun, Tony.
It's going to be fun. And it makes me smile when every time that you and I get ready to do one of these Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling shows, because as you're saying, go down to territories and scoot over. And when you scoot over to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, you see that circular logo they had.
Old school, baby.
Man, that's my childhood right there, that old school logo, buddy. Yeah. And I know it's Dick Bourne's and, Mid-Atlantic Gateway. And that's just, to me, every time I see that, it makes me smile. It means wrestling. Even more to me, because of my childhood, it means wrestling more to me than the song for World Championship Wrestling on TBS.
Sure, because it was your childhood.
Right. But man, when I see the Mid-Atlantic Circle, woo, that's us, buddy.
Hey, a friend of mine, Brian Rogers, I think we've talked about this before. One of my great friends from South Carolina, big time wrestling nerd like me and you. He has a theory, not just about wrestling fandom, but about music and everything else that we all love that sort of shapes our life, that our first 10 years of fandom are really going to influence us for the rest of our fandom. So when we think back about our favorite movies or our favorite TV shows or our favorite music or our favorite wrestling, we always harken back to the first 10 years we were a fan. That's when we were at our peak interest and most excited about it. And we all just sort of chased the dragon, so to speak, with that. And that really, I mean, that works for me in my life. Like in my life, I think that's right. Like my first 10 years of my fandom, those are my favorite years, 89, 90, 91. And then even, go forward 90, 97, 98, like that's my peak fandom right in there. So I think he's on to something. And what you just said sort of aligns with that, even more so than the great stuff that maybe the content was even better in the mid 80s, but because you were there, you still think of the older stuff, the older logo more symbolically for wrestling. Do you think he's on to something with that 10-year theory?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, odd as it may sound, I was a fan for almost 10 years exactly before I got into the business. I started watching in 74 and I started at the end of 83 doing the interviews, but it wasn't until it wasn't until 84 that I started doing commentary for a Worldwide Wrestling. I don't know if I was full time back then, but I did that's when Dusty approached me in 84. And that's when I started doing some commentary. So from 74 to 84, I was a fan, and that shaped my vision or what I think about the business. I always think that the old territories did a lot of things right as far as what works in the business. And I still think some of those can be applied today to what we see on the modern era. I mean, stories to me, and we can roll and talk about it more. To me, things that they did back then are still important to guys today to make wrestling work. So it's a big thing.
Well, I'm excited about it. Fire up your network. Let's get rolling here. It's Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and we're going to get started on February 15th. It's not a long show, 47 minutes and 42 seconds, but we're going to have fun for all 47 minutes. Tony, why don't you give us a countdown today, and we'll get this show on the road, baby.
Here we go. Again, it's February 15th, 1986. And here we go in 3, 2, 1, play.
Track it.
Here comes them some bitches. Got Black Bart with them, don't they? Oh no, Black Bart was in the tag match. Oh, they're gonna strap Robert.
Welcome to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And we got an exciting hour in store for you this week. During this hour, you're going to see a World Television title match. Also, the most exciting news in wrestling circles this week is new World Tag Team Champions, the Midnight Express. And we've got a lot more action in store for you. Talking about the World Tag Team Champions, we got to bring you the former champions right here, Rock and Roll Express, Ricky and Robert. I know you fellas are disappointed, but I don't believe you're down. You're not the type of individuals to get down. I've seen you on the floor and get up before, Rick.
That's right, Bob. We've been down before. I like for all the nice fans to know that Rock and Roll's always coming back. It's took Jimmy Cornette and his Midnight Express on several different occasions to try to get these belts away from us. But Jimmy Cornette, you know what you've done to us, and you're going to pay for it, brother. We don't care what it takes or what we have to do. But one thing for sure, Jimmy Cornette, we're going to get our hands around you and turn you every way but loose.
How about that, Robert?
Like Brother said, we are the Rock and Roll Express, and we are going to be the express that derails the Midnight Express. That's a promise.
All right, fans, there they are, the former World Tag Team Champions, Rock and Roll Express. We'll see them in action during this hour also. Right now, in the ring is the Raging Bull, Johnny Weaver. The crowd already excited about the action here with the Bull in the ring.
And the Bull always gets plenty of excitement and an intense individual on that.
What did you think of Johnny Weaver as a commentator?
He wasn't a good commentator.
No, he was not.
But again, he shouted. He emanated the excitement. Now, this is Spartanburg.
Yes, this was filmed on February 4th.
And the reason I know that Spartanburg is because of the
glass
and the standards or the poles, you know, that you can see, and a low ceiling.
Yeah.
So this was Spartanburg, and man, again, you heard the crowd.
Oh,
you didn't have to sweeten it.
No.
Yeah, man, you didn't have to sweeten it. As a matter of fact, I bet you Peggy Latham's here.
Oh, I'm sure of that.
As a matter of fact, I think that's Peggy
front row in the overalls, right?
Yeah, and the orange coveralls.
Man,
Peggy a lot of times was too cool to cheer, you know?
Yeah. Front row center too. Man, that was a squash match right there.
Boy, it didn't take long, but again, that
was Mike Samani. He beat with what they called the flying burrito at the 58 second mark. 58 seconds. That sounds like you're, never mind.
Yeah, it does. Like my Valentine's night.
Here we go. A little Black Bart action. I mean, Ron Bass. Here we go.
Jones has sort of waved something in front of you. He's really got you excited.
You know something, Bob Pop Jones, he come out here and he's got that big old long neck like a big old long neck crane and a willow break. He's still issuing challenges and he's hollering and screaming. He said, I got $10,000 for somebody that's strong as my Barbarian. Well, Jones, I want you to stop and think just a minute, brother. Do you not understand English or what? You're going around calling me an old country hick. Maybe I was talking a little too slow or something for you. I accept your challenge. I accept whatever rules that you have laid down. I've read them. I says, okay, let's get it on, brother. $10,000. It's income tax time, people. And everybody out there working knows what I'm talking about. It's time you got to pay it, brother. And 10 grand will go a long way. So, Jones, the names are already on the dotted line. Quit hollering and screaming. Quit ducking the issue. Have you got yellow all of a sudden? Are you having second thoughts? The big cowboy said yes. So let's get it on.
I got to tell you, I like Ron Bass.
Yeah, he's solid. Absolutely solid. Now, I think this is the commercial filler here. We go to a break.
Oh, here we go. Look at Arn Anderson looking badass.
Anderson, Arn, you still got the big man, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes on your mind. You said he hit you where it hurt you the most, and that was right in the pocketbook.
Well, Bob Caudle, you can take a look at this face, and you can tell I've been smacked around a lot in my life. I've had teeth knocked out. I've had my nose broke. I've had my knee torn up. I've had my back hurt. I'm no, injury is part of the game. Right. But Dusty Rhodes, when you and that boot, that loaded boot, that ball-peen hammered boot, put my partner, Ole Anderson, out of wrestling for I don't know how long, and listen to this garbage. You dipped into my checking account. You dipped into my savings account. I'm no longer one half of the National Tag Team Champions, Bob. Yeah, and I have to listen to this garbage in every arena I go to. Well, Dusty Rhodes, you hit me where it hurt, and that's in the pocketbook. That's exactly right. But the bottom line is, I achieved this on my own. This is the prize. You claim this is yours. You got 20 minutes, Dusty Rhodes. If you want this, don't send your stooge baby doll out here to get it. You come out here and you be man enough to take it physically. That goes for you, Manny Fernandez. I don't want you sticking your nose in my business. That goes for you, Magnum TA. That goes for the Rock and Roll Express. Anybody wants this, they got to beat me in 20 minutes. And Bob Caudle, there's not a man on the face of this earth can beat me in 20 minutes, period. So, Dusty, don't look for me. I'm looking for you.
There you have it, and that's the World Television Champion, fans. Arn Anderson, and let's go to roar as the music begins.
How fucking over are the Rock and Roll Express, dude?
God, the girls are just absolutely want to touch him. Touch it. Touch it, please. I was going back to that Ron Bass interview.
Yeah.
When he's talking about, it's tax time, people. I was thinking he ought to tell the boys that.
You know, I don't know why, man, but Ron Bass, he's a big dude. He has a good look. It's a unique look. It's a Southern look. Is that Jackie Crockett climbing down?
That's him. And there's Skeeter over on the right. Wait a minute. Is that Jackie? Or we're on the, yeah, that's Jackie in front of us.
Jackie's like thick Flair, isn't he?
Yeah, man.
I didn't realize. Anyway,
I like Jackie.
Ron Bass, dude. He's grown on me a lot, and I could see why he was a big star, especially in the territory days. He was believable.
Yeah, he was. He was kind of like a blackjack mulligan, and big old cowboy black hat, and he patted himself after. There's another squash match. I don't know if this was 58 seconds or not, but it was quick.
Dude, it was super fast.
Yeah.
And, listen, I get it. It's 36 seconds. Picking up the win over Gene Leggett and Mark Fleming. This double drop kick does not hit, by the way. One of these guys, major whiff, and they show it on a replay. Like, what is this? Just runs right past him. That didn't look that great. And then he turns around into Robert Gibson didn't touch anything.
No, Robert didn't.
But back then he was touching everything outside of the ring. I heard a interview recently where someone said, oh wait, here we go.
Weaver here with me, Johnny. Recently we had a match, Ivan Koloff and Magnum TA, and some amazing things took place during that match.
Well, certainly one of the greatest matches that we've had on TV. And of course, two great individuals in there battling it out. Ivan Koloff, Magnum TA. You can't get any better. They're right at the top of the NWA.
Absolutely. And fans, let's go back and look at some of the action there, because Johnny, again, we want to look at it. Here is Ivan and Magnum now in the ring as they go at it. And there's that belly to belly from Magnum.
And he's really got him right there with that belly to belly. But look at there. It's Big Nikita in that ring. Magnum trying to take on Nikita now. Of course, Ivan is in the ring also. And here, their comrade from East Germany, Baron von Raschke. Now, Bob, it's 3-on-1.
3-on-1. That's right, Johnny, at this point. They got all three of them, and they got the chain. And there's the chain.
And that one really leveled Magnum. Of course, there's the three of them, the two Russians, their comrade, the East German. Some guys trying to help there to no avail, and the three of them still right on top of
Von Raschke with that chain as he wraps it around his arm. And I think he's got it around his fist, right?
Magnum really down from that chain, Bob.
Nikita with a chain in the corner, off with that, wrapped right around his fist, Johnny.
And the three of them continue, and Magnum is really down. Now look, from the corner, here's Dusty Rhodes, American Dream, the other half of America's team, but he gets caught from the back, Bob, because it's 3-on-1, and look at this!
Baby doll in, now watch her just pound away at Big Nikita. She's just beating him on the chest.
That's got to take some intestinal fortitude right there.
They were going to take her head off right here.
But
Dusty saved her.
But he got caught with the blow that was meant for Baby Doll. And now both Magnum and Dusty, the America's team, is flat on their back. And a rock and roll, and there's several other wrestlers enter the ring, Bob. And boy, what a melee.
I just got chill bumps watching that back, dude. Just the crowd reaction. They were so into it.
Hell of an angle. I'll tell you something about Johnny Weaver. He was married to a wrestler. Her name was Penny Banner.
Oh, wow. That's a name from the past.
Yeah. And Johnny went on to become and I do believe I'm right. I'm doing this by memory, but he became a deputy sheriff in Mecklenburg County after his wrestling days. He has since passed, but Johnny had some skeletons in his past that Penny apparently talked about years later. So what they were, I'm not so sure, but
they had a daughter together named Wendy, and in her biography, Banner Days, she talked about decades of physical abuse at the hands of her controlling, womanizing husband, who she referred to as Johnny Ace instead of naming him. She finally divorced him after what she described as a drunken murder attempt when he nearly killed her using his wrestling finisher, the sleeper hold.
Yikes.
Yeah, he died in 2008 at the age of 72, and you're exactly right. He was a deputy sheriff in Mecklenburg County, which, by the way, is where Charlotte is, for people who don't know that.
Right. It's the
I wonder how many warrants he had for the boys back in the day. I can think of one. Oh man, it's already over. Old Black Bart, Bob Cottle's back. Let's track it.
And for Ron Rossi, just a tremendously quick and good win for the big Texan from the Texas Badlands, Big Black Bart. Well, we talked about the World Tag Team Champions. Let's go to the ring, and here is Jim Cornette.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tag Team Champions of the world, Loverboy Dennis and beautiful Bobby the Midnight Express.
So as a reminder, they won these tag titles in the first ever, I guess it was like a precursor for Clash of the Champions in hindsight, wasn't it? Superstars on the Superstation.
Oh, absolutely. It was the big one. Yeah, absolutely. Prime time, right?
And we just watched it. If you've already missed it, it's in the archives now. But yeah, man, so far, let's run through what we've seen so far. Manny Fernandez gets a win in 58 seconds. The Rock and Roll Express get a win in 36 seconds. Black Bart gets a win in 36 seconds. And this one we're watching right now is going to go 1:09. So don't blink. But you talked about, this is sort of the NWA's answer to Superstars or Wrestling Challenge. Well, that's exactly what those shows were. Just one squash after another.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing here.
That's all the wrestling business was. This, again, we've talked about this. This was an infomercial to get you to come to the arena. It's a big commercial. There's Rocky King, by the way, a younger Rocky King. I go back to the beginning of this, Jim Cornette taking that.
Look at everybody looking at the entrance. Let's track it.
They are casing up the Midnight Express.
Well, you talk about distractions. That's got to be a major one. There they are. Rocky.
Dude, what a time.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but Sam Houston and
walking behind him. Yeah.
Sam Houston and also Gene Anderson walked behind him. Now, back in those days, the referees did not have an IFB in like they do today.
Right.
Gene Anderson was the guy that timed the show. In other words, when you saw Gene Anderson come out, the referee saw Gene Anderson come out, it was time to go home.
Right.
So Tommy would look, he would see Gene standing there, and it was time to go home. As a matter of fact, look at that. Bam.
They're home.
He made everything look good. As a matter of fact, if you didn't go home, you kept wrestling, Gene had been known to walk right to the ringside, right up to the apron of the ring. And you knew the shit was on by that time.
Bruce Pritchard used to say back in the day for WWF TV, they would have a guy sitting ringside who would put a pencil in his mouth.
Yeah. Pencil in the mouth. Absolutely.
And who was it that used to wave their tie? There was
someone used to grab their knot of their tie and wave it. Was that Mid-South?
I don't remember where, but I've heard Cornette tell that story before. You know what? That may have been TBS. Somebody would adjust their tie.
Yeah. You ready for this one? This is a filler.
Is this what I think it is?
Yeah, boy. But you saw Gene Anderson taking them to the set here.
Not once, not twice, but 3 times we have to sit through this. Here we go. We can do it together.
Team champions, individual champions. We got a couple right here that are just making some big waves as a tag team. Of course, Nelson Royal, Sam Houston. Sam also our Mid-Atlantic champion, Sam.
Yes, sir. Well, there's something I want to say real quick. 2 of the greatest things that have ever happened to me before in my life. The first greatest thing that ever happened to me was winning the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. I went out there on my own and defeated Crusher Khrushchev for my title right here. And I'm going to wear this belt as proud as I can and defend it for everybody out there as well as myself for as long as I can. And another great thing that's happened with me, not with me, but around me, is that a lot of people have taken the time to come out and show me the ropes and teach me and learn and really get behind me and tell, go kid, go. That's where it gets you. Men like Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA, this man right here, Nelson Royal, the list, everybody has really tried to teach me and prepare me for what's down the road. And I'm glad that I've got men like Nelson Royal in my corner and Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA behind me, pushing me on and on. And we're going to keep going, and we'll show you some things in the ring that there's not a lot of people can show you, because we're bulldog and experts, let me tell you. This man right here has showed me a new bulldog, and we've been using it. It's been very successful for us. Now, I think Nelson's got a couple of things he'd like
Nelson, when you got the talent like this, man, though, the teaching's pretty easy, isn't it?
Man, that's what we were looking at when we decided that's what we want to do. It's the long-term thing, because we got something that's great. He turned out he came in with this, and he got ahead of us, and he's won himself a title. So that put everything farther advanced than what we really thought. So that proved one thing. He's capable of learning, and he can absorb what we're teaching him. And like he says, he's proud that people are that way. But that's what happens in young people in this world. You help, you get help. And he tries, and we want everyone out there to know, mister, we're after him, and this young man is going to make it all the way.
Oh, here we
just
go.
About every time adversity follows Dusty Rhodes around everywhere, somebody's trying to take something from America, the American dream, America's team, whatever. Let me tell you something, Russians. This big old neck from Texas right here is standing just a little bit tall. It's been about 45 minutes since I felt the pain of the Russian sickle. Let me tell you what it's all about from here on, baby. You might have been off more than you can chew this time. You've been doing what you want to be doing, but you're talking enough to roll the American dream. And Magnum TA, Magnum's team, and try to put me out, and try and even suggest it that you're going to take $1 million head off. That ain't right, baby. And now that you're going to find out what
And I gotta admit, I'm feeling a lot of it right now. Well, I can deal with that pain. But you think about dealing with this. You set me up. You set me up real good. But the fact of the matter is, you didn't get the job done because I'm still sitting right here now. Now you think about this fact. Now I'm coming after you. I'm not sitting around waiting for something to happen. Now America's team is focused in on the Russians. I will defend that United States heavyweight title against you, Nikita, and any time. That isn't even the issue here now. It's you and me. It's two personalities, and the wrestling world isn't big enough for the East and the West. I'm going to take you out no matter where I have to go to find you.
Well, we saw one of the worst promos ever, followed by a couple of pretty good ones.
Yeah, Magnum, I thought it was great when they pulled out Magnum just staring right to the camera. He knew how to do it, man.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he knew how to give that look and knew how to do it.
By the way, we were tracking it right there.
Yeah.
And we stopped. But if you go back and you listen to the pop when Sam Houston took his ring garb off, his entrance gear off.
Yeah.
My God, those girls were squealing like nobody's business.
Oh, I know.
He was over like Rover with the female fans. And listen, we're going to make fun of him a lot here today and for the rest of the year, but he was over. He had his fans.
Yes, he did. He had his fans. There's no question. They gave him a title. And you know what? I'm watching these interviews, and these interviews are done over on the side. There's Tony Zane done over on the side, and they react to the fans, and the fans react to them because they can see them. Right.
Yeah.
But I still don't think these interviews were as good as the ones done in the studio TV.
No doubt. No doubt. And a lot of that is probably, producing. You know, there's somebody in the back who's paying a little more attention to the TBS show than they are here.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And it's also inherent amongst the talent. I'm sure one's the A show, one's the B show.
Right.
And so as a result, you know, it's like when Alabama plays football, sometimes they play to the level of their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a great opponent, they're going to play great. You got a shitty opponent, they're going to play shitty. And well, we're going to play by enough to win. And that's what they're doing here, because the TBS show to me is just way more exciting, way more fun. And that's what's weird is here you've got a live crowd, so it shouldn't be that way. You know, instead of 200, you got 2,000. Talk to me a little bit about the way these shows were put together, because we've talked a little bit about the promos that we see, like the ones we just saw with Sam Houston. That would have been a filler, as you said, because you would have had localized promos, which Jim Crockett invented, by the way.
Okay.
That was his creation.
Right.
But you would have localized promos that would usually have you or Bob Caudle or somebody holding the mic, and then one by one talent would come in this Friday in Charlotte, North Carolina, that type of shit. And it would put all the on sale information at the bottom, but we're not seeing that here. All of that's been removed. So it's what you would get if you didn't have a show coming to your market. Right.
Right. Right. And I was the one that did the local promos. Bob didn't do the local promos because they were done in Charlotte and he lived in Raleigh.
Gotcha.
So I was the one that did them, you know, and I mentioned this before. It was a guy named Big Bill Ward who did it before me, and even Rich Landrum did it before him. But when they hired me, man, they brought me in, and every Wednesday all day standing up, never sit down. And the reason I never sat down was because I was always doing something.
Yeah.
It was not what they said. Hey kid, stand up. You got to always stand up. I mean, we just did them one after another, after another, after another. And it was kind of a well-oiled machine on Wednesdays. These shows, I think, if I'm right, when we started going out of the studios, I think these shows were done on a Wednesday as well. So we may have moved our interviews around to Tuesday. I'm not so sure, but they were inserted from one tape machine to another. Again, we had no edit suite to where we could cue it up and go in and out points. And that's what I think I've mentioned this before. That's what amazed me so much about going to work for the WWE. They had all this equipment and all these edit suites and editors and producers and audio guys. And they really can. Here's an example. The Dusty Rhodes interview that we just saw, as great as the interview was, They just brought a camera in, mic on the camera, and they tracked it, right?
Yeah.
That would have never today, that would never happen.
Right.
You would have a boom mic, you have a live on him. It wouldn't even go in there because it would sound like shit. But that was old school stuff. And Vince started to break away from that. His stuff started to look better and sound better because of the equipment he had and the people he hired and the audio people he had. He had a kid named Larry Rosen who worked for him for a long time, great audio guy. And Kevin Dunn used to tell me all the time, he said, people don't realize we do video, but the sound is so important. And he was right. And so
look at this. Nelson Royals getting the win here with a spinning toe hold. That was a submission, spinning toe hold.
Yeah. How about that? And Sam with the Bulldog on the other side. And Nelson was, I don't know, we talked about this before. Nelson put them 6 shooters away too.
Yes, he did. That was fucking hilarious. Dude, watch. So you see Sam Houston applying the spinning toe hold. They've been working on this leg of Tony Zane forever. He tags in Nelson Royal. Nelson takes over the spinning toe hold. And in the background, you said, we're going to see a Bulldog. I wasn't watching it. I was so focused on a submission from a spinning toe hold. Here comes the Bulldog we heard about.
Yeah.
I didn't even see it. It's tremendous. So what I'm going to recommend is that you take it from us and check out theamazingkind.com. That's where you'll find plant-based palm relief balms. Start that again. Plant-based pain relief balms, creams and gels for your muscles and joints. It's good for what ails you. And you don't have to be a professional wrestler like Sting. You could just be regular ass Lois. Lois uses the Amazing Kind. So does Bruce Pritchard. So does my wife, Megan. And we want you to try it right now. Theamazingkind.com. You'll get 20% off all of your orders when you use our promo code WRESTLE. And I'm telling you, your body is going to thank you. Now, what you'll find at theamazingkind.com is they've got infused oils for mood support and sleep, and they really work. But my favorite thing that they do is a little pain relief. And this guy knows pain. He used to be a producer and editor over at the WWE, working on their commercials and marketing. And now he's trying to help people. You see, these products are made from all natural sun-grown hemp and then infused with nutrient-dense MCT oil if you're using those infused oils. But the balms, the topicals, the creams, the gels, man, it's good for your muscles. It's good for your joints. It's good if you're trying to do it after you work out to help recover from, all that you've put your muscles through. Or maybe you've just got some sore muscles, some stiff joints, some backaches, maybe a little arthritis after a long day. Theamazingkind.com can help. I really want you to try these topicals. They've really worked in my household. I know they're going to work in yours, but they have something for everybody. While you're at theamazingkind.com, if you think, hey, you know what? A little more sleep would be good. They can help. Check it out. Theamazingkind.com. They can hook you up for CBD, CBG, and CBN. And they've got everything you need at theamazingkind.com. Use our promo code WRESTLE. You'll get 20% off all of your orders at theamazingkind.com. Be sure to use our promo code WRESTLE. But I do like the story, sort of a Mr. Miyagi type story, the old guy teaching the young guy. And here's Jim Cornette.
Should I say the 2 champions or the 3 champions after what you did? And now you got involved.
They said rock and roll is here to stay. Well, I'm glad we didn't pull up no chairs because they didn't stay too long. You know what I mean? And rock and roll, I told you we were going to do it. And that's exactly what we did. We took the World Tag Team Championship straight away from you. And that means that I knew what I was talking about. The master plan worked. I was vindicated. I am the smartest manager in professional wrestling. And this is the best tag team in the world today. Loverboy Dennis, beautiful Bobby, the Midnight Express, the Rock and Roll Express. They gave us everything they had, the fight of their lives, and they still could not keep us from taking these belts away from them. And Bob Connell, do you think that the Rock and Roll Express would have let these belts go without the fight of their lives? No, they wouldn't. And they were the second best team in professional wrestling, the only team that had even the slightest chance of taking the Midnight Express out, and we proved that they couldn't get the job done. Once and for all, we proved that we are better than the Rock and Roll Express, and now we don't have to fear anything from any team alive because the Rock and Roll were the only ones, and they're history now. They're done for. They're finished. We proved that we can beat them. The World Tag Team Championship, and now any other team in professional wrestling. Darling, if you want some of the baddest two men that ever walked the face of the earth, all you got to do is call me, because the World Tag Team Championship means exactly that. This is the belts. These are the men. And this is the title in tag team wrestling. Just like the greatest professional athlete in the world, Nature Boy Ric Flair would say, to be the team, you gotta beat the team. These are the team, and Ric Flair's the man. And neither one of them is gonna fall for a long, long time.
Fans right here, there he is. He's
So we got Paul Jones and Barbarian here, and there's going to be something funny here. So I want to track this. Okay. We normally wouldn't, but listen to this.
Hey, something, Bob. You know, a man of my caliber, a man of my class, and I have to suffer the verbal abuse of everywhere I go, people calling me Weasel. Well, let me tell you something. This is the last draw. Everywhere I go, every Coliseum, this is what I see out in the audience. And let me tell you something, I'm going to sing a down of it, and I don't want to see this. And Ron Bass, you want a chance at the $10,000? Well, brother, come on, because you have a chance to try the Barbarian, and you're going to go down and defeat like everybody else will be doing the same.
Talking about Bass, let's go to the ring. Here he is. There's the big cowboy.
So, dude.
Paul was speaking in tongues there, I think.
I got every word of it. And I like that we saw a very rare piece of Jim Crockett Promotions merch.
Yeah. That we should have said, we should have had a video font at the bottom, right?
Yes.
If you like your Weasel Slapper shirt,
call this number or yeah,
right. Didn't do it. Didn't take advantage of that. And I'm sure your interviews with Jimmy Crockett will talk about that. That's just being a mom and pop organization and not getting it. I think,
dude,
I'm wrong.
How good was Jim Cornette on the microphone?
Oh, tremendous. And how about, Dennis Condrey shining up those belts?
It was fantastic. Hey, I want to mention too, real quick. I saw, an interview with Jim Cornette, and, we've got his book here. I'm going to start using for a little research.
Good.
Do you have one of those? The 35th anniversary?
Yeah, he autographed it and gave it to me. I've got it.
I've got one just like that, and I need to start thumbing through there before we click record, because I know there's gold in there. Sure. If you're a big fan of this era and you don't have that book, you need to go get it. You're gonna love it. It is a phenomenal book. But the thing I caught the other day in an interview with him is he's on a $100,000 deal here, you know, and he says, we usually made more than that, but it's almost like there's a guarantee for $100,000. And I know some of you listening right now think, well, that's not very much money. And don't get me wrong. I get that, but you have to have the context of it's 1986. So that's about 250 grand. Now that's each. So when you talk about the Midnight Express, in order to have them on your show and on your team, it's going to cost you, $750,000 a year. That's major money.
It is major money. And let me tell you why I know it's major money, because, when I started making that money, like in 89, when I was offered that contract, my first 6-figure contract, I was over the moon.
Of course.
And I talked to my tax guy, and the tax guy or my insurance guy, one of the guys who advised me, and they said, do you realize how many percentage of the world of the United States make 6 figures? It's not many that make 6 figures,
right?
And that will never make 6 figures in their career. So I think for me, it was appreciation of that. And I'm sure Jim, looking at 6 figures, went, wow, a kid that young who was a photographer at one time, and now fast forward, he's making 6 figures. I'm sure he was, I would think, I haven't read all of the book, but I would think that he was pretty excited about it.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I'm not saying he wasn't paid well. I'm just saying when he talks about, oh, we made 100 grand, I'm sure some of our listeners now are thinking, well, that's not a lot of money. Well, here's the thing. It's when you look at inflation and all that, just the current value of that 100 grand back then, it's in excess of $250,000 now. And you got to appreciate there's 3 members of the team. So in order to present that, I mean, you're paying $750 a year to have it on your show.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is the reason a lot of guys didn't want a manager, because, in theory, when a promoter books you, if you don't have a manager, he can afford to pay you more.
Sure.
But you have to make that trade-off of, would the people still want to pay to see me without that guy getting the heat for me?
But you got to go back to the beginning of the show when Cornette was strapping Robert Gibson.
That's when everybody was hot.
Damn straight, buddy. That was big time heat.
Yes. So he's a valuable member of the team is my point. And here's another promo, but you know what? Let's have you track it, Tony. Why don't you?
All right. All right. We're talking to Sam. That's right, Mr. Cotto. I want to say that did you know Rockin' Robin was my sister and Jake Roberts was my brother? And yes, they can talk and I can't talk worth a shit, but I got one thing that they ain't got. I got Nicola. I got Baby Doll. And after this show's over, I'm going to be driving back to Charlotte here from Spartanburg, about 90 miles. And you know what? I'm going to be getting a blowjob the entire way. And they can't say that. Now, I don't mean that Nelson here ain't going to give me a blowjob. No, he's just my partner and he's an old fucker anyway. But I'm going to be getting a blowjob. And who you think I'm going to be getting a blowjob with, Bob? Nope, not you, not Ricky, Robert. They get more blowjobs than I do, by the way. But that's beside the point. The fact is that Nelson, where was I? Oh, I was talking about Nelson Tellem. Nelson, he gets a lot of blowjobs. Apparently does. Yeah. Well, apparently does. And now I'm too old to get him, Bob Cotto. But here's what I got going for me. What were we talking about? Okay. Yeah. We were talking about getting blowjobs. And all the boys get them at one time, except the announcers. Tony Schiavone's never gotten one because he's been married to Lois for a long, long time. And you know what the difference is between a job and a marriage and a wife? I'll get the joke here in a minute. It's after 7 years, the job still sucks. So I knew you'd like that, Bob. Turn to the camera and smile. But Sam's probably going to get a blowjob. I'll be sitting in the back seat and I'll be reading a book and with a little nightlight. And when Sam finally gets done with his business, he'll probably end up like not wanting to drive. And then I'll drive and he and Nicola go in the back seat. Yeah, that's exactly right. I'll get two of them.
My God, let's track Baby Doll here.
Here's Baby Doll.
Bob Cottle, I bet you couldn't have the slightest idea of where Dusty Rhodes is right this minute.
No, I don't have any idea.
Well, Dusty is on a movie set at this very moment in Tucson, Arizona, with none other than Willie Nelson. He's putting together a movie with Willie right now. And Arn Anderson, just because he's out there, we haven't forgotten you. And especially you, Russians, for what you did to Dusty and Magnum, we're going to get you.
She's talking about Arn Anderson. He's in the ring. Baby Doll, let's go to the ring. Here he is, the world's television champion in a world television title match. Arn Anderson, the Italian Stallion.
This is actually a pretty good match here. I love seeing old Arn. I love that track jacket he's got here. I don't know why I love this look for Arn, but I do.
Yeah, it's good. It's
when he's got less hair or more hair here and darker hair and a thicker beard.
Yeah,
he looks just like Brock that we saw on Dynamite this past week.
I was thinking the same thing. Looks like his son, and
well, I guess his son looks like him technically.
Yeah, they look. It's Brock is Brock's pretty damn good. We saw him do a
tryout,
little match for us. He's really, really good. And of course, listen, if your son's Arn Anderson, you're going to get a look, but you've got to put the aptitude in, or you got to have the aptitude and you got to put the effort into it. And Brock has been training. It's not like this big, strong kid walked off the street. I want to be a wrestler. He is trained to be one.
Hey, by the way, I want to real quick say, if you're in the news media, please don't report what we just said. We'd like to be able to just share with our friends and family here on Patreon and ad-free shows. And sometimes we accidentally say something maybe we shouldn't have, a little too much. And we want to continue to give you peeks behind the curtain, but if it all becomes clickbait, we got to start playing stuff close to the vest. So
you talking about that interview I just did?
No, I don't know that we probably need to put it out there that he had a tryout and all that jazz.
Oh, okay.
I don't think some of that was supposed to be out, but I knew it and you knew it, and we just started talking like we both knew it, and now thousands of people know it, and that's fine. But if it gets out, then we just know, okay, we got to play all that close to the vest, because lots of fun stuff's going to be happening this year, and we'd like to be, open about it here.
Yeah, I get it, but how in the world would you know that the kid can wrestle unless he had a tryout? Okay, that's number one. And number two, Conrad, you're talking to a bunch of shitheads that have no life.
No, they do.
No, they don't. Fuck them. And no, fuck them.
Well, I like
it. Just pisses me off. I get it. I get it.
This is the best match on the show so far to me.
Oh yeah. The Stallion can work, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when I say that, everybody is like, "Oh, you're just saying that because." No,
because you like Arn Anderson.
No, I'm saying the other matches on the show: 58 seconds, 36 seconds, 36 seconds, a minute and 9, 4:54, 3:06. This one's going to go 10 minutes, 33 seconds. We get a real match.
Well, it helped elevate the TV championship.
Yes.
Arn Anderson said in his interview earlier, nobody can stand with me for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was the TV time limit. So everybody got a chance to, and Arn did a good job putting this kid over as far as giving him some stuff and make it mean something. I always thought they gave the television championship to a guy who could really work.
Yep. It was the workers belt. The WWF had the Intercontinental title, and that was their quote unquote workers belt. The TV belt in this era probably was that.
Yeah, it was. And Arn was the man that held it. Tully held it. Dusty held it for quite a while. And you may say, oh, well, he couldn't work. Yeah, of course he could work. Not as good as these guys, but he could work. And he gave you good matches. Here's another thing too about this show. Because this show was an arena show, you didn't see Dusty or Flair on these shows much.
No.
You saw him on the studio shows.
Yeah.
You didn't see him because Greenville, South Carolina was right next door. And they made themselves special. Dusty made he and Flair special. So you would see him in the studio, obviously, but these people paid to get in. But they paid to see TV. They didn't pay to see Dusty or pay to see Rick that much.
Let me ask, how much of Dusty's ego do you think was apparent in 86?
Oh, it was, Dusty had a incredible ego.
I mean, in terms of how it could negatively affect business. The reason I ask is the Rock and Roll Express, everybody in that era would say Dusty didn't like the fact that the Rock and Roll Express were so over.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were running two towns, if Dusty's show didn't sell out and the Rock and Roll Express show did, like, let's say the Rock and Rolls were in Charlotte and, Flair and Dusty were in Virginia. Well, the Charlotte show would sell out. The Virginia show would not. It'd be nearly full, but not totally sold out. And apparently more than one person heard Dusty say, nobody sells out Charlotte without Dusty Rhodes. And the next time they were in Charlotte, yes, the Rock and Roll Express were on the card, but so was Dusty.
Yeah.
And I don't know. The rumor and innuendo is that Dusty wanted to be the big star, and he had acknowledged that Flair as world champion was going to be the big star. But it's almost like, to hear people tell it, he didn't want people getting over or more over than him.
Yeah.
Do you think that was an issue in 86, or is that sour grapes from the boys?
I think it's a couple of things. I think I think Dusty's ego, because I travel with Dusty a lot, Dusty's ego was immense.
Give us an example when you were traveling with him.
Just the way he talked about himself a lot, and the way he talked about the business, and the way he talked. He always told me, he said, I wake up every day thinking I'm going to make $1 million. And he would talk. Sometimes it would just be to entertain us in the car,
right?
Like me and Janie Engel and Doug Dellinger. I didn't travel as much with him back then as I did after he became the booker in WCW in the early 90s. I traveled with him a lot then, but he always used the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, in the third person.
Mm.
And when you do that, that's a sign you got a massive ego.
Right.
But I always thought that just was a part of Dusty. Now, did he, now, of course, again, back in this era, he traveled with Jimmy Crockett. I traveled with Gene Anderson and Sandy Scott normally from The Office. So I didn't get the chance to see Dusty that much, but he had a major ego. I mean, I've told you the stories where Tully Blanchard got so pissed off about him one time that he said, I think Dusty Rhodes ought to fight Dusty Rhodes. so Dusty Rhodes can guarantee that he's going to go over every match. And that got to the point to where it grated on the boys. Now, did Dusty do some things booking wise to put himself over more than like maybe the Rock and Roll Express? I can't answer that. I don't know. I just knew that the moneymakers back in '86 were Ricky and Robert in the Midnight Express. Did Dusty look at
Flair
that?
and Dusty? I mean, they were over too.
Well, sure they were. But the hottest angle we had going on was the tag team angle at this time. I mean, Dusty's angle, with the foot and the Starcade coming out of Starcade 85 and the broken foot and breaking ollies. Now, take a look at this. Our biggest angles right now are Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, the Russians and Dusty and Magnum, and probably, I don't know, Dusty and trying to get back with the Horsemen. But the thing that's driving the horse right now, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express. I'm sure that his ego a lot of times had him book things to make him look good. But I have a feeling that he was not the only booker that did that. Again, I'll go back to the interview that we did with Willie Nelson, which was on Superstars on the Superstation, which is in our archives. And Dusty was in his room, and he asked me if Willie was already at the pool to do the interview. And I said, yes. He said, good, because the star always walks out last. And he said that to make me laugh, but he meant that.
Yeah.
And so that's just a glimpse of the Dusty ego that I saw. But he was such a great guy to work with, and I was such a Dusty mark growing up.
How could you not be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Dusty mark growing up, and now I'm working with him. Fuck, man, you can throw all the ego around me you want. It's probably easier for the boys who've been in the business a lot longer and worked night to night for them to get a handle on Dusty's ego than I did. I saw Dusty on the TBS shows on Saturday, and when we went out on Wednesdays to do these shows, that's when I saw him. They saw him every day,
right?
And they had to deal with his booking. So, but yeah, the ego was immense. It was there, buddy, and a lot of times it was funny.
What about the ego on Jim Crockett back in the day?
I thought it was. I didn't think Jimmy had that big of ego. I thought, listen, there was a thought, we have shown on our archives, the infamous angle where Dusty got stabbed in the eye by the Road Warriors,
yes,
which led to his demise,
yes,
as a booker. There was a feeling back then that it didn't matter what Dusty did. It didn't matter what he did. And this is a feeling that I understand from listening to the boys talk. I didn't feel this way because I just didn't. There was a feeling that it didn't matter what Dusty did, that anything that Dusty wanted to do, Jimmy Crockett was in favor of.
Yes.
There were some guys who thought that Dusty controlled Jimmy, that absolutely controlled Jimmy. And Jimmy stuck with him through thick and thin, man. But there's your gourd buster.
How crazy is it that was the first finish? I mean, that was the finish before the spine buster or the DDT.
Yeah, it was a good one. Reverse suplex. But there were people that thought he was really anything. And I'm sure you addressed that with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then who told me this? I don't know who told me this, but it was, after Dusty had been fired and things were going downhill. We're talking like 87, 88.
I'm not tracking this.
Thank you.
Let me just give you a spoiler, boys and girls. It's bad. We made you listen to one, and then Tony made fun of one. We're done with this. Continue your story, Tony.
Okay. Somebody came up with the joke after everything was going downhill. We're talking about late 88. And the sale was up and things were going bad. I don't know what month that they all of a sudden realize, fuck, or we can't do this anymore. We're losing too much money.
Right.
Somebody came up with a joke that here's Jimmy Crockett and Dusty Rhodes standing on a rowboat, and the rowboat is sinking. And finally, Jimmy turns to Dusty and realizes, hey, motherfucker, this is your fault. One of the boys told that joke, and I'm not so sure who told it. But I remember thinking back then, wow, Dusty really has some heat with these guys, more than I even thought. Again,
you don't think Dusty played a hand in the demise of Jim Crockett?
Of course he did. Of course he did. But is he the one person to fault?
Well,
for some of the boys, he is. For some of the boys, they say it's Dusty's fault.
Well, but
it's not all his fault.
It's a lot his fault though. And it's a lot, but in the end though, let's run through that. In the end, it's Jim Crockett's fault.
Yes.
He allowed it.
Yes. There you go. He signed the paychecks. He knew David Johnston was our controller, whatever. And I don't know, did Jimmy, I really want to hear these interviews because I want to hear that David, and I knew David, just let it. I mean, how can you let a company lose that much money for that long without letting the boss know? Or did the boss know and he just didn't know what to do? I don't know.
Well, you're going to love the interview. We've got an Easter egg at the end.
Oh,
Wayne Daniel here. We've heard that name a lot.
Yeah.
Doug Dillinger.
Yeah.
Jim Harwell, floor manager. There's old Klondike.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the old Nemo. I'm glad y'all found him. And I'm glad that you guys found us here on Patreon and adfreeshows.com. Don't forget, we're going to be back every single Saturday. It's the perfect companion piece for the TBS show. It's Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And Tony, it's also about that time.
It's about that time, ladies and gentlemen. Here is Sam Houston walking to the car, and let's get an interview with him. Sam, we understand that you are going to be riding to Charlotte. Who's going to be in your car? None of your fucking business who's in my car. You said enough already, you fat. And we're desperately out of time. We'll see you next week on
What Happened When on Patron.